Jason Christian is working with a star-studded team at Area 253 Glass in beautiful Tacoma, Washington. Today, the team will be combining their skills to make a red dragon. Jason gathered up a little clear glass out of the furnace. He's going to use that to pick up a leg. Across the marble from Jason, Chris has a chunk of red glass. That red glass is going to get laid on the outside of the dragon's leg.
Oh yeah, you got it. 100.
Jason made the dragon's leg earlier at his own studio back in Seattle. He brought it down to 253 and put it in their pickup oven so he could heat it up and then add this new bit. Again, that's some of the red glass that Chris had earlier. He got it hot and brought it over so that Jason can snip, and then he'll go on to squeeze that down. This will be the armor on the side of the dragon's leg.
We're 15 minutes before everyone's supposed to sit down.
Each of the 4 dragon legs will rest in the garage until it's time to assemble the finished piece together.
Entertainment channel and make more money that way than
The final dragon leg is going to be a little bit different in that it's holding a crystal ball. Jason has gathered up some clear glass. He's starting to lightly separate it from the pipe with the jacks before picking up what we call the marble tool, which is essentially a metal ring on the end of a metal rod. With that tool, he can get a nice round marble shape and then cut it down a little bit more using these Ikebana shears.
Yeah.
Now it's time to add that crystal ball into the dragon's claw.
Have you worked the torch?
Chris gave the ball a little heat. Jason's going to cool the neckline down with his shears. And then he'll break off the ball into these special ring tweezers. He's asked Chris to heat up the break-off area with the oxypropane torch, and then to heat up the center of the dragon's claw before pushing the two together.
The crap out of me lately. And I think it's just this, you know. Meditation. Where's that at?
Jason wants those fingers wrapped around the ball.
So in there,
He'll go so far as to grab each individual end after heating it, pulling it out until it gets very thin, snipping or breaking that off to a point, and repeating that process, grabbing the glass, stretching it out into a long point, and then snipping it off.
No, yeah, how could you know?
And he's not just like Russell. You want the whole thing on here, right?
Yeah.
That was the last of the dragon's legs. Now it's time to make the dragon's head.
Lay it in one drop.
Chris has some of that red glass. He's brought it over to Randy, who has a clear bubble on the end of a hollow blowpipe. So far, everything we've seen the team make has been solid glass, but this is now a bubble, though it won't stay a bubble for long. Randy rolled the color back over the clear bubble, and now Jason has gone back into the furnace. This is where the liquid clear glass is kept at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see the pot in there. It's like a big flower pot being used as a soup bowl.
Right on the sill. That's where Patrick likes it.
Perfect.
In that pot is liquid molten glass. Jason would like to make everything out of pure color, but sometimes that isn't practical. In this case, he wants clear glass over the color, but just a little bit. So he's pulling most of the clear glass off the end.
Don't tell him that.
That clear glass will get recycled and thrown back into the furnace another day.
I don't know. Well, you got a good start going, whatever it is.
So Jason has a bubble. He's going to stretch that bubble out, cut a little notch in the end, and blow. He's working on making a hollow tube. And then he'll make that tube into what we call a snorkel.
Why so droopy?
After opening up the end, Jason has started to bend the tube to an angle.
That's definitely how I like to think of you.
See, I didn't even have to say anything.
Instead of turning while he gathers, he'll put that snorkel down and make a seal with the liquid glass on the surface of the furnace.
People always ask me, will you die if you breathe in? Only when you inhale lungs full of hot glass.
He's inhaling, literally sucking the molten glass up into the tube, just like a straw. Can't really turn the glass around too much, but he's letting it drip off so he doesn't trail any glass on the sill of the furnace. He's rolling around on the steel table.
Cannoli, dude, I love it.
And you can see that opening in the end, filled with clear glass.
Patrick, moment. Do you have a?
He doesn't want an opening. He wants the color to wrap all the way around. So he's gone with his jacks. He's starting to squeeze the glass down, drawing the color from the sides into the center. He'll go in with his diamond shears and cut that extra glass off. It's still very hot, as we can watch it sink and melt in real time. So now we've got a solid rod of glass. Most of it's clear, but there's a thin layer of red glass on the outside.
Yeah, he is a strange cat. Yeah.
It's time to shape the dragon's head. Jason's using the jacks to press 3 indentations into the circumference of the glass.
Yeah, right.
The next step is to define the mouth of the dragon. Jason will use the flat crimps to round the outer perimeter, and then use the tag to cut a crease in and separate the upper and lower sections of the jaw. The reason he does it this way is because he wants the color to come back with him, instead of cutting with the shears, which would leave a big clear spot on the inside of the dragon's mouth.
Grego and Dash T-Man on fire, so yeah.
Randy, can you hold the pipe real quick?
Jason is very concerned about keeping the dragon's head on center. Even though he knows the dragon is a mythical creature, it will look more realistic if everything is perfectly symmetrical. To create the dragon's snout, Jason will work from the outside and then on the inside with the interior sculpting
Who
tools.
made the first set, Johnny?
Yeah, my oral history of inside working was first person I ever saw do it was Ruth King,
Oh, really?
and she didn't have any tools but conventional Italian tools. And she tied a torch on it, built chuck to the bench, and she would blow hollow.
And here the team talk about the development of this sort of technique, which is relatively new in the history of glassblowing. Jason uses the torch to spot heat the area he wants to move the most, and then he'll go and slowly push and pull the glass,
These are the things that need to be focused.
coaxing it into the form he has in mind. Jason is making a series of red dragons. They'll all be a little different, but they'll all go through the same steps to be completed. The next step is to create the lips and the teeth of the dragon, starting with first the bottom jaw, and then repeating the process on the top, heating, and then going in with a knife to cut a crease in the glass.
I don't
The
know if I'd
inside
mess
will
with
be the
that.
teeth.
They're all made in China.
The outside will be the lips.
Change price of toothbrush real quick.
Some raging furnace, you know, like.
Once the teeth are in place, the next step is to pull back the crease of the jaw and make sure everything is on center.
Hey, looking back there.
Jason can now heat the individual jaws and cut the teeth into that section.
A little longer, but.
Again, Jason will repeat that on both the lower and then the upper jaw.
It's a really nice one because it's kind of deep too. I think it's like
Been up there, and he's like, "Oh, you guys should come to the studio. You know, like check the studio out. A little longer flat."
And the police are gone now. So.
Yeah.
Jason will take a moment to straighten up the teeth, asking Chris to sight down the center of the pipe before using the tips of the shears to cut the nostrils into the end of the snout.
Didn't want to be that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Pull the tip of the nose, and then one by one, heat and stretch the teeth,
Thank you, Randy.
Actually, true.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes.
drawing it out to a long thread, and then breaking the thread to create a sharp point.
Able to pull that off.
and also kind of like the chewing produces the acid too.
You're getting on it.
Jason squares up the end of the lower jaw, and then starts to make the eyelids.
Listen to it. I listen to it. Books on.
The eyes will be separate bits of black glass.
It's called Boys in the Boat. It's about tides and.
I ate a meal when I was driving here.
Uh-huh.
I ate a meal when I got here.
And then one last
Promise
time,
you, Chris.
cut in some teeth and the lower front lip.
the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was funny that he showed up here before I did, and you still didn't.
I'm
tell me.
sorry, Pookie.
Now it's time to place the eye. It'll start like the snout, pushing in the ball to create the eye socket. Again, making sure that these holes are symmetrical and even. The eyes themselves are black glass. Jason has taken a rod of black and heated the ends up to make them into small marbles. Those marbles get placed inside the eye socket, and then they're broken free from the rod.
See, he's blown on it too. This glass blown.
Jason wants to work quickly to draw the outer edges of the eyelids and then press the upper eyelid down over the eye. Once the left side's complete, the same thing on the right. Heat the eye socket, push in the marble of black glass, break it off the rod, and then start to heat and sculpt the eyeball.
This, if you wouldn't mind.
The next bit to be applied is the armor on the underside of the dragon's jaw and neck. This comes on as one long bit, which Jason works quickly to snip.
Have you ever seen those dragons?
Yeah, I love their piece in the auction.
Have you ever seen her make one of those?
With the lower armor in place, now the upper fangs can be applied. It's that same rod of red glass, this time simply poked in and stretched to be made into a point. Jason starts by heating the end of the rod where he wants it to attach to the mouth. Then he heats up a little higher, causing the glass to melt, where he can then stretch it and break it off into nothing.
Later, obviously. And I remember the first time I got my opportunity to work with Pino.
It's really amazing.
Once the front of the dragon's face is pretty complete, it's time to break it off and work on the back of the dragon's head. To do that, a new rod was made, the punty. This will be the new handle for the piece.
Not sleeping in Quantico at the Holiday Inn.
Jason will go in and expand that massive glass. He'll then snip on the top and the bottom to create two sides.
Right.
We got some galbosis here.
Like a hard place.
Working with the flat crimps, he can begin to squeeze those two sides and flare them out into the armor on either side of the dragon's head.
My style.
And then go up and down.
Another Randy Walker, he's got a whole bunch of fellows.
Oh shit!
The flaps are heated up and then snipped into the individual sections of armor plating.
I wanted to know if I was that guy, so I forgot about it. But now every time I go into Canada, they pull me in.
Oh really?
I've got my passport, I've got my ID, and I've got a social security number.
Crazy. Dope Bay. Yeah, Dope Bay is the one.
To be honest, it was okay. We play golf.
The glass needs to be at least 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit to move.
I do black light, pump light.
In order to cut it, it needs to be much, much hotter than that.
They got 3 other Arnold bomber courses.
Jason wants to take a moment and prepare the area on the back of the head that will attach to the dragon's neck. The armor plates are flattened with a flat crimps and then pulled to a point.
Pitched the perfect game, and he was high on LSD.
Yeah.
Joe Rosano's credit card. That we'll put it on that.
Yeah, that's true.
The reheating chamber used in the glass studio is called the glory hole. It burns at 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Do you need another door?
Chris just gave the dragon's head a flash in preparation for attaching the whisker to the side of the dragon's face. The whisker starts as a straight red glass rod, and then Jason continues to heat and shape it and attach it to the side of the dragon's head. It's challenging enough to do this on the first side, but far more challenging is to do the same thing on the other side, making a perfect mirror image from the first. Jason wants to make sure that those whiskers are firmly attached to the side of the dragon's head so that they don't pop off later on.
Man, I wish Lemmy were still alive because I could see this as a Motorhead album cover.
Once he's content that both the whiskers are symmetrical and even, the next step will be to attach the ears to the top of the dragon's head. The red glass is attached to the top of the dragon's head, snipped off, and then squeezed with the tweezers.
Stuck it on his tail.
Not only am I a member,
Like the dragon's armor,
I'm a member.
those ears are then pulled to points,
Yeah,
broken,
exactly.
to create a sharp edge.
And so I got the lucky number of her pool, and like, she asked her, okay,
There's more work to do on the dragon's head, but for now, it will rest in the garage, staying warm at about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's time to make the body of the dragon, so that we can attach all the parts that we've been working on so far and complete the project. The body of the dragon will be a much larger mess than we've seen the team work with so far. Jason has started by gathering up a bubble of clear glass. And now he's laying out red glass rods called cane. That cane was pulled earlier just for this project. Red glass coating clear glass in the middle. All the canes should be the same width, the same circumference, and the same density of color.
my ears perked up. Yeah, my ears perked up. Yeah.
We put the canes on a hot plate so that they get preheated and are less likely to crack before going into the hole. The cane will be heated up and melted together into a continuous sheet. That sheet then will be rolled up on the outside of Jason's bubble. You can see the edges of the cane got warm in the glory hole. Chris will lightly squeeze the canes together. And right behind him, Jason comes with that gather of fresh hot glass. The canes get rolled up like a tractor tread on the outside of the bubble. Jason will then spend a few minutes pushing that cane down into the surface of the bubble. Normally he's very concerned about where the two sides of the cane meet up. For this project though, he wants a gap in the middle. Randy has picked up some of the same red glass they've been using all day and covered it with a layer of fresh glass from the furnace. That blob then gets laid down over the seam of the cane.
No more here? Thank you, Randy.
This new mass will be the breastplate for the dragon's armor and define the belly of the beast. Now it's time to start to elongate the dragon's body. Jason begins by narrowing the mass just beyond that section of breastplate. He'll then begin the process of grabbing the glass with the diamond shears and stretching it to its full length. The team will repeat this process a few times, heating, stretching, and then pulling the mass until it gets to the desired length. As Jason and Chris work together, they're especially concerned about keeping all the canes straight.
And that one, okay. Yep. And we'll straighten this whole thing out.
Once this side of the mass has reached the desired length,
Do a little rotation.
Jason will start to nip in a bit with the diamond shears in preparation for removing some of the extra material. This glass will stop moving at about 950 degrees Fahrenheit. Even though the outside may be cool to the touch, the inside is still quite warm and resists breaking.
Is this gooey?
The team will take a moment to center the glass in preparation for applying the roller wrap.
So it roller wraps a little easier.
This roller wrap will be a mass of clear glass, freshly gathered from the furnace and marvered to a point. The pipe holding the dragon's body is placed into offset rollers, while the mass of clear glass is placed on a stationary yoke. When Chris spins the pipe, it turns like a screw, and that thread of clear glass gets stuck to the outside of the body. This will be the armor around the dragon's body. Randy is using the torch to make sure that thin thread of glass doesn't cool down too quickly and pop off.
And we got to make sure that we keep the chest straight, you know what I mean?
From here, the team can start to draw out the curves of the dragon's body and tail.
Alrighty. Look down and then flip towards me. Is that looking pretty straight, Patrick?
Yeah, man.
Watch the
Jason wants a long, fluid, graceful curve, so he'll take his time and work each section individually. From time to time, he'll use those cork pads to push the glass around.
So we want it looking this way.
The right side.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
He'll trim
Okay.
the neck to create the place where the dragon's head will attach to the body.
Okay, that's looking good.
It's time to create the mane of armor plating that will be flowing down the back of the dragon's neck. Randy brings a bit of hot red glass that Jason lays on in one fell swoop.
Let's save that, Randy. Okay.
He'll then proceed to flatten that bit down into a ridge using the textured crimps. He'll segment the ridge with the side of the knife,
Go ahead, yep.
and then he'll proceed to reheat, flatten, and stretch to a point each and every segment of armor on the back of the dragon's neck. As he works, he'll jump around. He works this way so that each of the dragon's armor points has a chance to cool down and not to pull around while the other one is created. It's time to begin work on the dragon's tail. In order to access the tail, we need to break it off the blowpipe. And in order to do that, we need a new way to hold on to the dragon. Randy is making that now, a new punty. This one will support the weight of the dragon's body, and its legs, and its head. So it's got to be a pretty good-sized piece of glass. Randy is rolling it into a dome, and Jason will apply it right into the center of the dragon's chest. This is a special kind of punty called a sculpture punty.
And pull back a little bit. Pull it.
Saw Randy push the punty onto the piece and then pull back so that Jason could cut a small notch. With a little water and a tap, the dragon's body is broken free. Chris has picked up another bar of red glass from the color of it in preparation for creating the armor plates on the back of the dragon's tail.
I'm going to do that one more.
Now's when Jason gets to have fun and play with the glass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go one more time down. And over one more time. Side to side. Let's go front to back.
Using the cork pads, Jason is going to fine-tune the curve of the dragon. This will be his last chance to make major movement in the body before applying the bits for the tail. There are few things more exciting than laying down a half a bar of beautiful red glass in one fell swoop. Chris had to work extra hot so that Jason could get in with the crimps and flatten it before the glass cools down too much.
Great.
Yeah, great.
Just like the armor plating on the back of the neck, Jason segments the long bit into sections and then heats each section in turn and pulls it to a point to create the spiny armor plating for the back of the dragon's tail. The very tip of the dragon's tail will get two final bits, which will be cut and pulled into a flaming point.
Easy side first.
Jason has to work quickly to slice the bit into separate sections before it's too cool to move.
Perfect bit.
Chris knows that Jason will expect this new bit to be just like the last one. He heats it in the furnace, while Randy heats the dragon in the glory hole. Chris brings the bit over, Jason taps it on, and then draws it down the side of the tail. It's taken over 4 hours for the team to create all the parts of the dragon: the legs, the head, and the body and tail. It'll take less than 1 hour to assemble the final dragon together. Jason begins by heating a section of the body where the first leg will be attached.
So we'll leave this one like that, and the other one's gonna go forward.
The leg is brought from the garage, given a light flash, and then pushed into that hot section of the dragon's body. Jason will jump from the back left leg to the front right leg, and you can see how the canes get pushed out of the way as the dragon leg is pushed into the body. After attaching the leg with a grabber tool, Jason will take a moment and straighten everything up using the cork pad. The cork is much softer and much less likely to break one of the delicate parts of the leg. The fourth and final leg is the one holding the crystal ball. Now it's time to attach the dragon's head to the body.
And I know it'll find its way back to center.
A couple flashes.
Just like the legs, the head has been hanging out in the garage on the cold side. Chris has moved it over to the hot side in preparation for running it into the glory hole and bringing it over to Jason. Timing is everything as the team prepares to attach the head to the body.
And open again.
Jason will use the oxypropane torch to heat up the top of the neck where the head is to attach. Unlike the legs, the head is still attached to that sculpture punty that it was made on earlier. So Jason has to work quickly to attach the head and then break the punty free. That punty left a little bit of glass on the tip of the dragon's snout. So Jason wants to heat that up, pull it, and cut it free with his shears. Jason thought he was just about done, but he forgot to attach the horns to the top of the dragon's head. He's having Chris bring those over now. Like the claws, the horns were made earlier back in Jason's studio in Seattle. He brought them with him, put them in the oven, and warmed them up so that he can attach the horns once all the larger pieces are already on the dragon.
I'll come around this way. Yeah. Actually, I take that back.
You see how Chris hangs out under Jason with that paddle. If that small bit should drop, Chris could catch it.
That's it.
With the last piece in place, Jason will take a moment to fine-tune and straighten all the different parts of the dragon. The sharpest and smallest points are saved for the very end. You see Jason use his finger to flick off the very tip of the dragon's tail. After all these hours of work, the most important step is removing the dragon from the punty and placing it into the oven where it will cool down overnight. Jason goes in with his shears and narrows that connection point on the punty. Randy takes the final flash.
You need the head up and down, right? Yeah. Alrighty.
Here we go.
Jason uses a little water to create a stress crack on the puntee. Chris grabs the piece with his Kevlar gloves and places it into the annealing
Go ahead
oven.
and take it, Chris.
After cooling down a couple days in the annealing oven, this dragon was cold worked to clean up the area where it broke off the puntee. Jason had a talented metalsmith create a stand to display the finished piece. Jason Christian and his red dragon. Pretty sweet, dude. I'm Greg Owen, G-Man on Fire. Thanks for watching.